Well, hello everybody, it's Dr. Carmen Bryant, and this is Car Chronicles. And obviously we're not sitting in the car. But, you guys ready? Let's do this. So I heard a question, does a narcissist know that they are hurting you? Absolutely. See, most people assume that a narcissist doesn't understand what they're doing. And a lot of times people are in denial, especially if you love the narcissist or you're operating out of your emotions. Narcissists want you to operate out of your emotions, because if you operate out of your or think out of your emotions, that means that it's easier to manipulate you because you're too emotional. And the narcissist does things on purpose. There's nothing accidental. There's nothing, they don't understand what they know exactly what they're doing. Not only do they know exactly what they're doing, they watch you to see how you react. They need your reaction. Remember that they are predators who watch your reaction. They need what is called fuel. And a lot of you that have been here for years and you've been watching videos, you can do the videos yourself. You know that a narcissist needs fuel. So they'll take negative or positive fuel. They need a reaction. So they do things on purpose to trigger you. They do things on purpose to get a reaction out of you, whether they get happy and smiles and, the things that you do and that whatever they do to make you happy. And then they do things to offend you. And then they get a negative reaction from you. They don't like the negative reaction. And so they abuse you, misuse you, or verbally abuse you because they don't like not your responses, but your reactions, right? If someone offends you, of course, 9 times out of 10, you're going to react. And that's what you have to watch. You want to respond versus reacting. But a narcissist knows everything that they do it deliberately. Everything that they do it on purpose. There's no accident. There's no accident. And the more they hurt you, there are some that are very sadistic. And remember, you have those that are called malignant narcissists. Those are the ones that also have, antisocial personality disorder. Those that have a high level of psychopathy or sociopathy. There we go. Those psychopaths and those sociopaths, the ones that have no conscience, they can do things and eat a meal at night or go to the movies. Those that you notice, a lot of times with narcissists, you'll notice it too. But especially those that have that additional malignancy to them, where you notice that they're very awkward. A narcissist is like an android anyway. They just pick up on your emotions, and then they have to figure out what emotions am I supposed to have for the situation. That's called cognitive empathy, where they watch you, they understand how the emotions work, and they know how to manipulate the emotions. But to feel your pain, to put their feet in your shoes and feel your pain, that's why when we talking about, I did a video day before yesterday where I was talking about victim shaming and victim blaming. People that victim blame and victim shame show that they have a low empathy. They have very low empathy. And I remember working with a lawyer one time. I was doing assessments and I was joking with him. I said, I should be a lawyer. He says, you can't be a lawyer. I said, why wouldn't I be a good lawyer? He says, you wouldn't be a good lawyer. I said, why? He said, you feel too much. I said, what do you mean? He said, you care too much. He says, when you go into family law or criminal law, he said, you can't go in there with a bunch of emotions. You can't go in there feeling a lot. Makes sense now where you have certain lawyers that are very good at what they do because they have to have a low empathy level. Some of them do have empathy. A lot of them do have empathy. Now, let me take that back. A lot of them do have empathy, and a lot of them do enjoy what they're doing, but a lot of them have to pull themselves out and separate their emotions from the event because of the fact that if they allow their emotions to run wild, or if they allow their emotions to take over logic and facts in a courtroom, they're going to lose their cases. That's why when you go into a courtroom, it's about facts and not emotions. So does a narcissist understand what they're doing? Absolutely. It's very intentional. And a lot of people that are in denial, that are still struggling with the fact that I know that he or she loved me. They were with me for all these years. There's no possible way that you can tell me that they didn't care. I know they still care, especially if you've been discarded. I know they still care. See, they're all about themselves and how they feel. They get bored very quickly. They get bored with you very quickly. You may not be bored, and you're happy that you have the life, or you think you're happy that you have the life that you have, right? And you're content. They're never content. They're never satisfied. A narcissist is never satisfied, and they grow bored too easy. And a lot of times, like I said, we go back to that malignancy or that malignant narcissist. They enjoy watching the pain of other people. That gives them that sense of empowerment, and it's fuel to them. They feel empowered They're sadistic. Why do you think, if you go into the prison system, you talk to some of these forensic psychologists or psychiatrists, they'll tell you pure evil. Some things cannot be explained by science or psychology. Pure evil. And some of these people, I remember I was going to get certified in the batterers course. Now, it wasn't the fact that I was going to provide services in a battering, as a batterer. What is it called? I'm trying to think what it was called. A certification to provide services to batterers. So to provide mental health services and support services to the batterer. I had no interest in working with the batterers. I have more interest in working with the survivors. But I remember being in there and listening to some of the stories of what these people who are very sadistic, very cruel, have no empathy, they have no remorse, they have no regret, and they have no conscience. It's like their conscience is seared. They have no conscience. And then you start listening to the backgrounds of what has happened to them in childhood. And it just so happened, trigger alert, that one of the perpetrators, when he was a little bitty boy, no more than like a year or two old, his mother and father used to put him in this burlap bag and put snakes in the burlap bag and hang him up on this, the clothesline, and then watch him fight inside that bag because he was so afraid of the snake in the bag. And he's fighting. And eventually what happens is he learned to numb his emotions because his parents got a thrill out of watching him suffer. They got a thrill out of his fear. His fear fed them, and it made them feel empowered until eventually one day he snapped and he stopped feeling. But think about it. How do you get a thrill out of something so horrendous, so cruel, But think about it. They got a thrill out of watching him as a child be hurt. That's why I can't stand people that abuse or hurt children. Is horrific. That is horrible. Those innocent little children, and you wonder how. And it's not all definitive. Just this particular thing that causes narcissistic personality disorder, because there's a lot of things that play into it. Even scientists and researchers are still trying to figure out all the causes of. And there are, but I know trauma happens to be one of those things. And imagine a person that has been traumatized and this child is deathly afraid of what's happening in this bag or what can happen, and there's no comfort. He does not feel any comfort. There's no comfort. There's no protection. There's no safety. And so he has to lock out his emotions so he can't feel anymore. And the thing that they were thrilled about is watching someone else suffer. And there are narcissists out there that feel empowered to watch people suffer. And so do they know that they're hurting you? Absolutely, because they have watched you from the time that they started love bombing you. And it's just like going fishing. You got to put the right bait on the fishing pole. They do the same thing. They got to put bait on the fishing pole to see what it is that you'll bite off of. That's why I tell you guys about the love languages. You guys go look and take that love language test to find out what your love language is. Some of you guys like words of affirmation, quality time, touch. Those are all the areas that you lacked as a child, that you thrive, or that you dearly, dearly want. And that's how you interpret love, is by what you didn't get. Well, guess what that narcissist does? That narcissist also figures out where there's a hole and where there's a need. And that's where they love bomb you at. But remember, they got the fish. They got to see, they got to throw out bait to see what are you going to bite off at. You constantly getting words of affirmation and validation on externally instead of internally, externally. Then that's where they'll bait you and put that hook in your mouth. And the one thing that they know is that's the area where I know that I can hurt you. Your strengths are their kryptonite, but your weakness is their source of energy and empowerment. So they have to make it an unequal power by making your powers look like you're weak, and then not strengthening your weaknesses, but taking your weaknesses and feeding off of your weaknesses. And they get a thrill off of knowing that they're not empowered. They feel empowered by being able to cause you to hurt or cry or suffer. And there are some that are very malignant that love to see people suffer. So do they know that you're hurting? Do they know that they're hurting you? That's their whole intention, to get you back. They're vindictive, or to feel empowered. Absolutely, they know that you're hurting. They're hurting you. Absolutely. Don't let anybody else tell you that. They know exactly what